In this lesson, I'm going to show you how you can quickly go forward and backward as you're working in Photoshop so that you can undo or redo important steps. Now, I've got Guitar_8 open, which is in my Chapter 03 folder. I am going to run through some steps with my History panel open. So if you don't see your History panel, choose Window, History, grab the lower right-hand corner and stretch that open a little bit. First thing I'm going to do is choose Image, Adjustment, Hue, Saturation. And I'm choosing Hue Saturation just to run through a step that I can undo at a later point. I'm pulling this saturation way down. Now I could pull it the whole way over to have what looks like a black and white image, or I can pull it up a little bit to leave a little bit of a tint of a color in here, which is where I'm going to go with this. I am choosing OK. This has been recorded. I'm now going to go into my filters and choose Sketch, Graphic Pen. Now, when I choose Graphic Pen, it is supposed to look kind of like a graphic pen has drawn this image. If you go into this filter and you see green and white or red and white, it's probably because your foreground colors are not black and white. You can cancel out of this window and press just the letter D, and that will return your foreground colors to black and white, which are the colors that the graphic pen filter look at before creating this effect. I'm pressing Command 0 or Control 0 if you're on the PC. I'm going to change the stroke length a little bit, maybe change the light-dark balance, and change the stroke direction. You can do what you want to decide what looks best. I'm pressing OK. Again, in the History panel, this has been recorded. I'm going to do a couple more steps and then we'll take this a little bit further. I'm selecting my paintbrush tool. I'm selecting any color. Doesn't matter. Choose any color you want. I'm changing the blending mode to darken because I want to apply this color on top of the guitar without hiding the details. I'm also going to change the opacity to about a 50%. And notice that now, I'll take my brush down. Whoa, that's a really small brush. Let me show you quickly how to make that larger. You can either right-click to bring up the brush's contextual menu, or you can use the brush drop-down menu in the control panel to change the size of the brush, or better yet, you can just position your cursor where you can see it, look at your keyboard, look for the letter P, look for the brackets off to the right. If you press the right bracket, your brush size will become larger. Left bracket, brush size will become smaller. If you see this, boop, that's your precision tool, and that means you have your caps lock key down. So make sure that you don't have your caps lock key down. That's about the size of the brush I want, maybe just a little smaller. And at the top, I can see that I'm at about 150 pixels. Now, if I start painting with this, you'll see that even as I paint, now I'm intentionally not painting all in one stroke, I'm painting little bits and then letting go or releasing so that each one of these brush strokes gets recognized as a step. Now, notice what I can do. Using the History panel, I can go all the way back to when I just did Graphic Pen or Hue Saturation, or go back to the original, or come forward again. Easy way of undoing and redoing. Notice if you use Command Z or Control Z, you just go forward or backward. You don't actually go back through multiple steps. But if you press Command Option Z or Control Alt Z, you can go back step by step, just like you can by using the History panel, but it's using a keyboard command. If you press Command Shift Z, you can go forward, or Control Shift Z. So if you're really into keyboard commands, it makes it easy for you to go back and forth throughout all your steps. Now your History panel will come up frequently. You'll see Return to History or Revert to History in a lot of different places, including if I just choose my Eraser tool. You'll see that there is an Erase to History checkbox up in the control panel. That if I use this, and again I'm going to make my brush larger by hitting the right bracket, that I can erase to history. Now what this is doing, the eraser tool is looking for the state where this little indicator brush is, saying, okay, this is the source that I'm going to go back to when I erase to history. But you could just as easily choose the Graphic Pen or Hue Saturation. allowing you to paint back to the state that you want. So if you have a little error, instead of redoing the whole thing, just find that error and go back. Now, I can always go back to the original file by clicking up in the top. In fact, if you like a state that you're at, I can say, you know what, I kind of like this and I want to keep this state. You can even click on the snapshot button that looks like a little camera at the bottom and save an additional step. Reason you want to do this is because after so many steps, these steps will erase themselves and start building new. They'll just kind of roll over. So if you have a stage in your image that you're really happy with, save it as a snapshot so that you can go back to it at any time. So if I come back here and I choose that I want to go back to the original, I can still at any time go back to this stage or even come back to the original, put my source brush off to the left, and paint or erase back to that stage. Just as a little trick, if you don't have this checked up in the eraser control panel, if you're on the eraser tool, you can always erase to save by just holding down your Option or your Alt key. Will always take you there. So have fun with that history panel, but most importantly, remember how you can undo and redo multiple steps.